a little bit gun shy version of him.
Yes.
You can't beat that. You can't be that, excuse me, against somebody like Neiman Gracie who can end a fight so quickly, or at least put you in a, trap you so quickly where there's no way out. So, yeah, I got to see all of these questions get answered. And if somebody looks great in doing so, they might get the call next for the title.
Here's the thing. Neiman Gracie lost to Jason Jackson in April of 2021. So I just think Jackson versus Lima, especially if Jackson wins, is probably going to be a #1 contender. If Lima wins, he was former champ, but he's got the 3 losses in a row. Hard to say. But, dude, Neiman Gracie had subbed out Ed Ruth, maybe one of the best college wrestlers ever, subbed out John Fitch, lost to Rory, lost to Jason Jackson just via decision. But he's really come a long way. As you indicated, Logan Storley had the fight of his life against Yaroslav Amosov, loses, and then kind of rebounded, although not all that authoritatively, against Dante Shiro. Here is a great chance to get right back where he was heading into that Amosov bout. And again, it's a huge style contrast. The winner is going to be asked to do something, likely winning outside of their comfort zone. So to what extent have these two previous combat sports specialists really developed the other parts of their game that they're going to need to ply this trade? Or you might actually do that. That Amosov bout was just nothing but wrestling and scrambling. You might actually see Logan Storley try and take this to the mat, in which case it could get very, very interesting for him.
Luke, be honest with the audience. Were you close to accidentally pulling the trigger on Amaslav Yaroslav as the pronunciation? You were like, it was in play.
It was maybe a little bit in the back of my mind, but only because of your idiocy. All right, your co-main event, Andrei Koreshkov taking on Chance Rencounter. Chance Rencounter went 2-1 in UFC, I think, and then kind of bounced. 2-2. 1-2 lost to, I guess they called it a day after that. He's been on the regional scene since then. He previously fought in Bellator, and now he's back. And, dude, Andrei Koreshkov, he's been up and down that promotion, doesn't have quite the acclaim that he needs. He does have the losses to Lima twice, and then Lorenz Larkin obviously beat the bejesus out of Benson Henderson and beaten Lima previously. Has 2 wins in a row over Adriano Rodriguez and now Sabah Homasi. Chance Rencounter, a guy off the Native American reservation, I believe, in Oklahoma, can wrestle his ass off. I think Phil Davis he's Phil Davis trainer, previously Alliance MMA affiliated. This is a tough ass fight, but I will say, dude, if Koreshkov wins 3 in a row, he's not far from a title shot. So you might get the winner of Logan Storley Gracie taking on the winner of this bout, depending on how things go.
Yeah, I like this fight a lot. Luke Koreshkov has really become the forgotten name of this division because of how long he was out, and he'll give you a loss here and there, daring to be great or facing an elite guy, and has come back from that and won big again. And Luke, when he fought Sabah Humasi, it was like, oh yeah, Spartan Koreshkov, he's back in this division. And then by the end of that fight, it was, oh yeah, he's back, and he's probably not that far, giving his name and history to a title shot, because he dug a hole in that canvas and buried Sabah Humasi in it for 3 rounds. I mean, it was very impressive given the time off, the comeback, the energy, the aggression. He's 31 now. If he wants to lean into wrestling, whether he has to in a fight because it gets dangerous or it's just a better strategy idea, Koreshkov has those chops. So I'm very much looking forward to this fight and see if he can get back-to-back big wins. Dude, if Amosov beats MVP, and that could go either way, it's a great fight. Koreshkov getting in line as a potential next, I mean, that gets you excited, Luke, because that guy at his
blood
best,
and guts.
He goes in there to fight, and he's, I love his personality. He's always been one of my favorite fighters. So great to see him back. And Luke, for Chance, dude, we don't identify Oklahoma as a place that, and I don't have any connection, so this isn't a commercial for them, but Oklahoma as a barren, forgotten, place that just produces hard-ass mofos, in football, combat sports. Like, we're always like, oh, that guy's Philly tough, or, oh, Tank's from West Baltimore. We get it. Dude, Oklahoma, man, they got to deal with weather and solitude and just, they just come out hard after that, right?
I got mugged in Oklahoma. How about that?
Point proven, Luke. Okay, there you go.
My dad is from Oklahoma, and I'll never forget going to Oklahoma. It was the only place in my life where you would just see rows of strip malls, where it would be a pawn shop next to a bail bondsman over and over. It's like Crazy Steve's bail bonds next to Uncle Bob's, pawn shop or whatever the fuck. And I guess they did
Dollar
business
Generals
together.
there, Luke?
I mean, they thrive there, And there are nice parts of Oklahoma. But my dad was from Lawton, which is a fucking horrific. I mean, the land that time forgot up in that bench. So
it does explain. It explains a lot, and I know that's a risky statement out loud because
you can see why my dad left the country to go find friends.
I mean, if he hears this inside your house, I don't know if you've got it piped out to the masses, but yeah, I could have a receipt waiting for me, Luke. All right.
By the way, also on this card, lightweight main card, Georgi Karakanian, longtime featherweight, has now had a little bit more success moving up to lightweight, taking on Adam Piccolotti out of AKA, or used to be out of AKA. A guy who had done a lot of good work and I thought was poised to make a move in the division, but ran into some tough losses. But, black belt jiu-jitsu, can wrestle his ass off. He's quite good. Also, BC, this is big.
Yes.
On the preliminary card, you know who's back? Rat Garbage. Mandel Nalo taking on Nick Brown. Dude, Mandel Nalo cannot miss material.
I didn't even know he was on this card. There's like two other pretty decent prelim storylines that I thought you were angling towards. You're like, no, Rat Garbage is back. Dude, this guy was awesome. Rules. I mean, he's like a combination of like that guy smoking a cigarette with one shoe on or on the corner of your house and in a budding MMA superstar. So I like that look. But Luke, Brennan Ward's back, dude. And I don't know if you followed this story closely.
I have.
Former welterweight contender from CT. Let's shout out another CT guy from New London. And he would always bring a rabid fan base to Mohegan for the fights. Luke, we knew him as an all or nothing in the cage guy. If he didn't knock you out, he was probably getting KO'd quickly. And now we find out he had a long battle with drugs that ended his career. He sort of walked away on his own terms, just didn't want to do it anymore. And he's been through a lot of crap, Luke, and he's still very young. Who knows what his fighting future looks like, but the fact that he got back to this point, I give him a lot of credit because he's now revealing, Luke, that not only was he doing drugs like, the week of his biggest fights, he really hadn't had a real training camp in like a long-ass while, meaning even those big fights when he's fighting Paul Daly, when he looks like a title contender, he's not even like really training, Luke. So I'm not saying now that he's coming back, there's a catchweight bout of 175 pounds that like clear the way, he could be a contender. I have no idea, but I'm very happy to see him back. He'll be taking on Brandon Bell, and it's something worth paying attention to, Luke. He brought it. He was fun as shit, man. He swore like a sailor in every interview. That was an underrated part of him.
He has big power. He's a good athlete, but as you indicated, he had all these troubles that were really not just interfering with his professional career, but with his life, and he appears, certainly it seems that way. We're very happy to hear it. He's turned it around. 33 years old, 34 in June, still has some time to do some stuff if he wants to. As you indicate, taking on Brandon Bell on this card. And you're right, he would always pull that Connecticut crowd, which of course probably explains why he's on it to an extent now that they're back in Connecticut. So the return of Brendan Ward is surprising to a degree, but welcome just the same. Also, Aviv Ghazali, top prospect out of the lightweight division, will be on this card. Deanna Bennett taking on Justine Kish is a perfectly legitimate women's flyweight fight. Anything else stand out to you?
That guy who Ghazali's got a string of highlight reel finishes, like right off the opening bell, dive in, take your legs, submit you. So he's someone to watch the more he starts to step up in class. Luke, I don't, I never want to tell Scott Coker how to do his job, but like, I hope if Ghazali keeps subbing out these mofos, I hope he starts getting a push. You got to get this guy off the prelim card. He is fun to watch every single time, Luke.
BC, we have to get through these, everything we have to do in the next hour because I know you have a flight to catch. Quickly, do you have any thoughts on Amir Khan versus Kell Brook for our audience?
We'll preview it on Friday if there's anything to actually preview, but it's like I'm halfway like happy they're finally fighting two stars who have circled each other in the UK for so long. But they're washed, Luke. And I say that with respect, but they're washed. So
dude,
to see all
Khan,
these...
I don't say this hardly ever. When do you ever hear me say this? Khan quit against Bud Crawford.
Oh, yeah.
He quit.
Yeah. I mean, and they were once great at their specific sort of peaks. And Amir Khan's had high peaks and very low valleys. But to see all the pre-fight content that they're putting out, like the debates back and forth, like a face-to-face type deal, like part of it is fun, but I'm also like... it's going to be gross and someone's going to get hurt. But, Luke, that's the fight game. So it's an attraction. And also Jorge Linares, by the way, going to make his he's now signed with a Russian promoter. He's got a fight on Saturday on the Plus that he's going to make his debut in Russia. And also, Luke, your guy, Jaime Munguia's back this weekend again. In another sort of like, fight that makes him a potential number one contender, but not a fight, not the opponent that's going to fire you up. But,
at least he's staying busy. All right, let's go to topic number 2 here. Kayla Harrison gave us... bit of an update a couple of different ways. This one through ESPN. First, there's not much to this one, so I'll go to it first on free agency. Now, we saw Kayla at the MMA Awards, which was, what, late December, BC? Mid to late December, something like that? And I had asked her, when do you think you'll get an answer? She was like, by the end of this month. Here we are now in February, and she still doesn't have an answer. So that cannot be great. But she says, quote, about free agency, other things have happened, and there's some last-minute things behind closed doors that I'm not entirely sure now what's going to happen. I marry that with the more interesting piece of news, BC, which is what she says is she's considering a cut to bantamweight. Quote, I'm considering it. I heard that Juliana, meaning Pena, said she'd move up to 145 if they paid her enough, so that's good news. That means I don't have to chop off an arm. I want to be the best. Everyone is talking about her. Why not? I have to conquer one mountain at a time, though. Whatever mountain comes next. BC, true or false, she is at least considering a move to bantamweight, because that's probably a condition the UFC has placed on her to sign her long term.
I would have to say true on the intentions of putting this out public, because as you sort of teased there, and I think Ariel had reported it about 6 days ago, they seem to be on the, quote, 11th hour 1 yard line with her and PFL, and the deal fell apart, as she sort of cryptically indicated. So all of this feels like it's more part of a public negotiation than not. But Luke, on the surface, it's a really bad idea, because you know what happens when you cut that much muscle, not fat, to go down in weight dramatically. Think Roy Jones after the John Ruiz fight. It's just a bad idea. And I don't think it's physically possible, considering she fought at 145 once for Invicta and has said she can't do that for a full year with PFL because of how short in that seasonal format they package the fights after one another. And Luke, I'd be remiss if I didn't add these sort of hedging comments for her that she gave later in the day yesterday to MMA Junkie, saying, quote, I was kind of talking shit, being goofy. My goal is obviously not to fight at 135 pounds. I have to watch what I say from now on. Obviously, I want to fight the best in the world. Juliana is now considered a top dog, but I also heard that she would fight me at 145 for the right amount of money, so I probably don't have to fight at 135. I just want to challenge myself. Do I want to fight at 135? Fuck no. No, of course not. End quote. Luke, that's probably more accurate in a lot of ways, and maybe that pushes this even more to your point of being more negotiation practice. But this my idea, or I don't know if it's I don't know if I came up with it or I heard somebody. I don't even really remember. I don't care who gets credit for it. But the idea that I pushed forth on this show that time of, hey, how about just the women's heavyweight division? If we have this gap in the men's between 206 and 265, and it's considered okay. Why are we putting out divisions like 45 in the women's side on UFC and sometimes 35 on the women's side that just are barren? And we know UFC's not going to open up a 155 division tomorrow. So, Luke, this more than ever, it would seem like a great idea for the promotion to consider. Do the heavyweight division from 135 to 155. You still have 125 for the smaller bantamweights who think that it's better off if they can cut down. But that division would suddenly have huge star power if Harrison goes to the UFC and has the chance to fight Nunes, Pena, Shevchenko moving back up, Holly Holm, Jermaine Durandamy. I mean, you've got a star-studded women's heavyweight division suddenly. That seems to be a no-brainer for me, Luke. Why is nobody talking about this? Is there any chance? Because Kayla Harrison is the right star that UFC would want to make a move like this for. Rousey star power forced them to create women's divisions. Cyborg star power forced them to create a 145 division. Nunes' star power has kept it alive, even though it's really just mostly blown up bantamweights looking for a shorter path to the title. Put the money in Harrison's future. Give her the heavyweight division to star in, and you're going to have no shortage of dance partners if she's really that good, Luke. Tell me I'm crazy, bro. Tell me.
Definitely not crazy. I think you're right. You get these transcendental figures at times, and they reshape the space around them. Although the thing about 145, you're right. Cyborg kind of forced him into this because she had so much trouble getting even below that, and then Amanda could accommodate her as well as some other blown-up bantamweights. But the point about 145, and this is what Kayla's up against, Kayla is not a natural 145er. She's a natural 155er. So she can make 145 and has, when, for example, she fought for Invicta. But the point I'm trying to make here is even 145 is so fleeting that the combined powers of Cyborg and Amanda can barely put it on life support. I guess they're probably either looking for a way out or just waiting for the sport to mature. I mean, this is really what Kayla's problem is. She's trying to shoehorn an athletic career into a place that's not good for her. Like, dude, the 135 thing, I mean, Kayla would have to have an amputation to really make 135 or something drastic. I don't like that idea at all. But the problem is, as you well know, BC, she's ahead of her time. I mean, her skill set is modern but relevant for the era. But what she represents, like, she has her weight class. Dude, she fought even higher. I think she fought in the 170s in judo, right? She's coming down from that. It's a much more developed sport. So they have weight classes for her. Here she is in a place saying, hey guys, I'm ready to play in this sandbox, and there's no room for her because she doesn't have enough contemporaries through this development process to pick and choose. So she's making these drastic, 145, not drastic. But 135, dude, 135, you used to compete in the 170s, you're going to go to 135.
I mean, she's not serious.
Like that.
You saw the quote she gave MMA Junkie. It proves that she's just talking. I mean, she did tell Mark Raimondi that she was going to hire a chef and consider hiring a nutritionist to try to figure out if it's safe. It's not safe. Look at when Cyborg tried to, do what she did to get down to 140 for those UFC catch weights. She couldn't even get close to 35, nor should she have had to. Luke, it comes down to, does the UFC think Kayla's that it girl, that potential star who can make this worth it? She is. And I think she loses some leverage in this conversation because she's already 31. I think that's going to fuel and inform the idea of her at the end of the day. She wants to get paid, of course, and she deserves it. But I think she'd be more willing to say, oh, you're going to create this thing around me. I get to fight everybody. This is worth to take, whatever middle ground of money that is to get the opportunity at history and being that person. I know she believes she's that. I'm sure underneath it all, the UFC probably believes that. However it takes to get there, wouldn't it just be more of a powerful statement to, if she comes in there, Kayla, to the UFC, and turns it upside down like she might be able to, we don't know yet, wouldn't calling her your women's heavyweight champion? I mean, that's pretty, Luke, that's a better sell than, featherweight or lightweight or
dude,
whatever.
I keep going back to this. Like, if the UFC can figure out a way to really work with her in the, it's a deal that works for everybody, everyone gets what they want. I mean, the possibilities are, dude, she's the best judoka in the history of this country, irrespective of gender. Not by a little bit, by a lot. There is no man in America who has ever won a judo gold medal. Motherfucker, she's got two of them. You gotta tell me there's a way they can make this work. But somehow, I'm completely in agreement with you. Plus, dude, she's smart. She's a mom. Like, her life is centered. You gotta make this deal.
While she's nowhere near as charismatic, she has the chance to be like a female Brock Lesnar, right?
Yes.
If she comes in and dominates people, and that's why I think creating a women's heavyweight division, that it would kind of also give her advantage. If the window is 35 to 55, and all she has to do is come in there at 55, she's going to be facing in the end a lot of smaller opponents. That's only going to make her look better and stronger. So if you are the UFC, it just makes too much sense. It's probably more, of a battle between the UFC contract people and Ali Abdelaziz, Kayla's manager, who's where he is in his placement in terms of elite, managers for a reason. So it's probably more of just centered around the debate. But she's going to the UFC, Luke. Everything.
I was just going to say, last thing on this, because we got to move along, but I was just going to say, they don't like making deals to accommodate. Like, what they want is somebody they can sign and fit right into the machinery that's on the move, right? They want someone they can just essentially slot in, even if it's a high slot. And what they would have to do for Kayla, it looks like, is a little bit more accommodation to make things work one way or the other, even if it's just through 145. They tend to not like doing that, but they have at times, and they potentially will again. All right, we got to move along, BC. Topic number 3, Nate Diaz.
De ce să dai o grămadă de bani pe un telefon nou? Tu poți să-ți iei un second hand, ca nou, de pe Flip.ro.
Pe Flip.ro găsești telefoane second hand verificate tehnic cu 2
says he's not all that interested in a McGregor trilogy. I guess he did an interview with somebody from YouTube who's probably wildly successful, but I do not know him. Adam's Apple.
Adam's Apple? Is that a guy? Wow, shout out to hey, there's the guy named The Weasel who does great scoring breakdown videos. He did one on Stylebender. So
he did. He does them all the time. You should check him out. If you haven't checked out The Weasel, he's worth it. Whether you agree or disagree, he's worth it every time. But sticking with Nate Diaz here very quickly, here's what he told Adam's Apple, quote, speaking about a McGregor trilogy, yeah, not right now. He's got a lot of work to do. BC, I call bullshit. I certainly recognize Nate has options, especially if he gets through this next fight relatively unscathed or even wins. I get all that. But the idea that it's like a distant thing, we have talked about McGregor putting out videos, eating the ice cream, laughing to himself. I don't know what state he's in. He also is still coming off that terrible injury. Never lose sight of that. Okay, so Diaz is playing his options. But the idea that this is some afterthought that he would, I don't even know any bullshit. I don't believe that for a second.
I mean, I would say it's a part of the negotiation with Diaz, but this doesn't, give him extra leverage in that. I'm sorry, not Diaz, Poirier. And look, I'm getting to the point, Luke, where most people probably tune into the show and go, oh, again, we're going to talk about McGregor and who he's fighting. Podcasters, you guys lean on that crutch all the time. We do. I mean, for rightful reasons. But even I'm getting like, hey, UFC, can you make Nate Diaz, Dustin Poirier already? Because they both want it. You want it. Like, come on, just sign that shit already so that we don't have to do these type of debates. And, it's because Poirier's now coming out and saying he doesn't want a fourth fight with Conor and doesn't see it ever happening, which I support, by the way, and I think is the right way to go. But please, let's do this. Diaz, Poirier, get them out of it, and then we figure out who Conor actually is facing when he comes back. And, look, I just feel the closer and closer we get, it's going to be more of a aging guy. I want RDA as that opponent, but it's going to be more of somebody like that, and I think that makes sense given 2 losses and a major injury.
Yeah, 2 losses and a major injury, and also just exactly where are you in your life that this is the priority. Like when he came up and, was talking about being on welfare and eating blueberries, he was in a position where all he was focused on was dominating. Now, I don't know what he's focused on. Like I'm saying, I literally don't know what he's focused on, but it just seems like fighting. I'm sure it's important to him, but it cannot represent what it used to. That's the issue for me. And so, plus that terrible injury, as you indicated, like even if you are 100% motivated to come back from that, that's still pretty hard to do. And so, we're not here to close the book on the McGregor chapter of the UFC, but we are here to say that, like, Diaz has to really think about not only what his options are, but what his options are next, who is available. And while McGregor trilogy, whenever they make it, whether it's boxing or MMA, depending on the circumstances, would be huge. I understand it. Like, I still get that Diaz is, I stand by what I said. This is an important fight for him, but I get he has to kind of point and direct his attention to what is more available. BC, this is something you hit me to, which I think is not, well, I think it's a little crazy, but I guess it is the way that things go. Topic number 4. So there appears to be a rotating door at the front of Eddie Reynoso's gym. For MMA fans who might not know who Eddie Reynoso is, this is like the trainer of the year. This is Canelo's #1 guy, but he's not just Canelo. He's put a lot of good work in with a lot of great boxers. Here's the deal, BC. It appears Ryan Garcia has left Eddie Reynoso for Joe Goosen, but Teofimo Lopez has indicated he might be heading into Eddie Reynoso's gym. Give us the update on what's happening and why it's happening.
Look, the Garcia update is news itself, and there's, spin-off things to talk about, but the Teofimo insertion comes from an interview he did with Ellie Seckbach. Take a step back, Luke. Reporting, indeed. Shout out to Ellie.
Reporting.
Where it says Teofimo has hinted that Eddie could be his new trainer. When asked about Ryan Garcia splitting from Reynoso, Teofimo said, quote, "It might be because of some news about me and Eddie, to be continued. We'll see, but my father is always going to be my main second in my corner." So this is interesting, Luke. What's most interesting to me is that Ryan Garcia, who they just announced is coming back soon. I forgot the guy he's facing, Luke, and I think that's the whole story. It's not a fight you're super excited about based on the opponent, but seeing which version of Ryan Garcia following this long layoff and him being honest about his thoughts of suicide during this run, which led him to canceling his fight with Jojo Diaz. He's already such an exciting fighter because of his looks and his following, but because he goes after the KO and he leaves like that vulnerability that he can get KO'd at any time. And we saw him get dropped hard by Luke Campbell in his last outing. Now he's leaving Reynoso, arguably the best defensive coach in the game. And we know there's been some unhappiness of late in that camp with Canelo going public and kind of criticizing Ryan Garcia's work ethic. So that's all part of this. Now he's getting Joe Goosen, who's like the old school offensive specialist coach that only, trains grinders and brawlers.
Real quick, who are like, they named 2 fighters or something that Goosen has trained, 2 elite ones folks might know.
Recently it was Sergey Lipinets who has that style. He was behind him to win a title. He's done the Ruelas brothers. Terry Norris. He's basically had a cup of coffee with so many elite names because he's a flashy elite trainer. I think the fighter most associated with him is Diego Corrales, and that's, of course, because the theatrics of that amazing first fight with Jose Luis Castillo, where Goosen, wearing his typical shirt that he would wear out to go to the club, was like, you better fucking get inside on him to Diego, before the finish, which is, it's storybook. It's insane. But the point is, Goosen's legit. He's trained everyone. And Luke, Goosen trains you to kind of just, he's not an irresponsible defensive coach. He's just full force offense that this is going to make Ryan Garcia's career even more fun and crazy, and who knows which direction, because Garcia is quick and good enough to beat anyone. And I mean that, really. He's in play to beat any of these guys. Teofimo, Tank, but he's also vulnerable enough where it's not going to be an elite guy. It's going to be anyone he fights, I think, if they step in and take the damage and land the right shot, they got a chance to finish him. So I'm not saying he's, Amir Khan 2.0. I hope not for his sake, Luke, but he's going to be wild and fun to watch. And on the flip side, Luke, do you think Reynoso, in the serious vibe that Team Canelo brings, which has Oscar Valdez and Andy Ruiz and other big fighters, is that the right fit for Teofimo, given all of the major questions he has to answer now moving up to 140 and the circus that his dad and extended family already bring?
Listen, I'm sure his dad loves him. I'm not here to impugn his relationship with his father, but I think that if his father interferes with Eddie Reynoso's training, it doesn't matter who Eddie Reynoso is or anything else. The question is, if his father is hands-on, or I should say, his father is hands-off enough, dude, I think this is huge for Lopez. Lopez, listen, two things can be true at once. We were all wrong about George Kambosos, and he boxed way better than we ever thought. We have to take that L and accept it, and I do. However, it is also true that Lopez boxed uncharacteristically, in part because George made him, and in part because he also volunteered to make a series of choices that were very suboptimal in response. I think a guy like Eddie Reynoso cleans all that shit up, dude. Lopez is still athletic. Lopez, when he's on, is still creative and slick and can do counter-striking and all kinds of stuff that he needs to. I think Eddie Reynoso can get him on the straight and narrow. I will say, though, BC, it's kind of funny in the case of, do you think at all that Tyson Fury having kind of like a ho-hum fight against Wilder and then going to the Kronk gym and being this come-forward destroyer, is that influencing other people in the boxing space, or is this totally unrelated?
I think it's unrelated.
Okay.
But it's interesting.
It's interesting to me that we see a lot of MMA fighters dialing back their offense to make it more careful, and that we've seen some boxers dialing up their offense to get it over the hump.
That's a good point. And, Teo's so dynamic offensively that, God, if Reynoso could instill not just the discipline and the culture that you're looking for, given how hard of the last year and a half has been for Teofimo, personally and professionally, adding those defensive things back in. Now, look, if Teofimo really is is like another Roy Jones type clone, where an elite guy who does things so unorthodox and is so based on his athleticism that it's not going to really help. Like Roy Jones, people say, but he doesn't have a jab. He doesn't use the jab. Roy Jones could do anything, okay? He could do anything he wanted. And at his peak, you wouldn't want him to try to be too grounded. I do wonder if Teofimo really is that type of explosive athlete where it is kind of better to let him go. We're going to find out. Look, Luis Neri just left Eddie Reynoso. It didn't work out for him. It's not, each system is not perfect, but I do think when you go to someone like Reynoso, you're giving the keys to you're giving the chef the utensils and saying, do it. So we'll see, man. It's exciting, Luke. There's that,
and also for Garcia, like with Goosen, like he's trying to turn up the heat, it looks like, and I think he's trying to find an offensive spark to build behind. Maybe that's it. Maybe that does the trick. Who knows? Hard to say, but
Fellas, it's time to take care of down there.
I guess I have let my bottom half go.
Use Manscaped's Lawnmower 4.0.
Who doesn't like to get this move?
The only tool with the performance and precision you need.
In your sensitive areas.
This trimmer features...
It's going to be fun to watch. All right, let's do some quick hitters. These are quick hitters, but these are some of my favorite topics, BC. Here we go. This is a great one. How about the UFC apparently working on a booking of Yair Rodriguez, BC, versus T-City. That's right, Triangle City, Brian Ortega. What do you make of that?
Firework. Just a mouthful of sex, Luke. I can't wait for this fight. And just because I like to do things bigger and bolder, Luke, can we put it in Mexico?
Let's see this video.
Can we do this in Mexico, Luke? Oh boy, this is another direct. Luke, can you rate this tat, please? What are we doing here? What are we doing?
Well,
here?
the tat itself is going to be just hard to do in a space like this. I got to tell you, there's two possibilities here, BC. Two. One is that when I first started getting tattoos, this was almost non-existent, but now it's pretty common. There's stuff called Vasecaine, and you can get other creams and sprays, and you can numb yourself out. And so that one possibility is he has numbed himself out, so that he's not really feeling this or not feeling it much. The other possibility is that he is just the toughest SOB alive and is getting liquid fire sewn into his mouth via a hornet's nest attack.
Well, and that mixes weirdly with the other message coming out here that says, that's Tracy, who's Tracy Cortez, the UFC fighter who's Ortega's girlfriend. And you saw on Instagram they just bought a home together. Luke, this is
they financially entangled?
It looks like it. Luke, this is a bold ass move. This is like, Mike Perry's done some moves like this. This is like Canelo getting the wife's eyeballs on the arm. I mean, this is a power statement to the world, Luke. It's not a cuck move, right?
No, it's a bold expression of love. I certainly hope it works out.
Doug Christie used to hit threes for the Kings, and then remember he'd do all those weird things that say "I love you" to his wife, and people were like, "Man, she got that guy on a leash." Or maybe he's just really in love, Luke. Maybe he just protects his marriage bed. I don't know.
He's definitely really in love.
Anyway, Luke, Mexico for this, or you're not buying it?
If they can do it with all the COVID stuff or whatever, or with all the rules and getting people over, that'd be great. But this is one. I don't know. I don't want to get back to the COVID debate. I'll just say if they can make it work, it'd be great.
All right. Well, how about UFC goes to TJ? How about UFC Fight Night from Tijuana, Luke? Okay.
Tijuana?
I mean, nobody does that, right? Nobody.
Oh, it's not Tijuana. I think it's just Tijuana. But
Tijuana. Why can't UFC go to TJ, Luke?
Dude, I was in the Marine Corps. This is so funny. When I was at 29 Palms, which is just, it's in the Mojave Desert, they would tell us, like, all right, fuck faces. You want to go to San Diego? You can go to San Diego. You want to go to Las Vegas? You can go to Las Vegas. Do not let us catch your motherfucking ass in a Tijuana jail, because guess what? You go to Tijuana, we're going to find you in the Tijuana jail. They used to always give us that fucking speech. So I've actually never been to Tijuana. Apparently it was a big deal. Tijuana, excuse me, because it was apparently a big deal.
The forgotten 80s movie Losing It with Tom Cruise? Where he
goes to... dude, it's been so long since I've seen that. That's a funny little callback.
Jackie Earl Haley, who plays Kelly Leak in the Bad News Bears, the cool kid who smokes cigarettes. They go to to Tijuana to try to lose their virginity, and hilarity ensues, Luke. It's a fun watch.
I need to verify the spelling before I dead wrong myself. Is it Tijuana?
It's Tijuana.
Yes, it is Tijuana.
It's Tijuana.
Okay. All right. Also on Quick Hitters, which the fans love. How about this, BC? There's a report out that Lomachenko has signed his side of the Kambosos fight and has told Top Rank he will take a pay cut. Which, by the way, for folks like, oh, that's bullshit. He did it to get the Lopez fight, so there's actually evidence of this. Whatever financial sacrifices Loma has to make, he will. And for folks who don't understand this is a big deal. He lost all these belts to Teofimo, who lost all these belts to George. George is having trouble working out a deal with Devin Haney. Here comes Lomachenko. He might get all his belts back, BC.
Dude, this is so exciting. Not just because it was unlikely, we didn't think about this was necessarily the direction it's going. And this is Mike Coppinger of ESPN reporting, and he did say Devin Haney is still in play, but that all has fallen apart, and it seems like Loma's the guy. But Luke, this is a division that's loaded with talent. Most of them, though, as we talk about, are young and unproven, and either are unwilling or it's just not probable that they'll fight each other given boxing's politics. Now you got this badass Kambosos, who, yes, you said, you're right, we completely pissed on and gave no chance, more or less. And to be fair, neither did the odds makers or the true boxing experts, although people did say, look, the guy's, he's tough. There's going to be a fight, and it was. Shout out to Kambosos. But Luke, he's a rare network and promotional network free agent at the very least. He's got Lou DiBella with him, and the fact that he could sort of circumvent all the bullshit and make a fight against whoever they can make a deal with, and they tried with Devin Haney, and that would have been great considering Haney has the WBC title and Kambosos is the WBC, super franchise, I don't even know what they call it. All that bullshit that that would have been great. But you know what? Him against Lomachenko might even be a better fight to watch. And the fact that Lomachenko could this quickly turn it all back around and get potentially all those belts back. And it's not going to be easy because he's got to go to Australia with the packed stadium. And remember when Pacquiao went to Australia against Jeff Horn, that was like an event. I mean, they brought it. There was intensity. And he's got to beat an aggressive, hungry guy in Kambosos. But Luke, what a badass resume. Vasily Lomachenko already has one of the all-time great Dare to Be Great resumes. And if you don't know, he won 2 gold medals for Ukraine in the Olympics, turned pro late in his 20s, wanted to fight for a world title in his pro debut, and Bob Arum couldn't make it happen, but he's like, I'll do it as quickly as I can. Fought for a world title in his second pro fight, kind of got robbed against Orlando Salido on the scorecards, and Salido cheated, and the referee was horrible. But yet, the next fight out, his third pro fight, he beats Gary Russell Jr., beats him up and wins a title in his third pro fight. He wins it in a second weight class by fight number 7. Then he becomes the undisputed champion in a third weight class. I mean, Luke, he's a king. He's a future king. I mean, this is we're going to talk about this era of the hangover of Manny and Floyd, and this is Canelo's era, and there's a couple other guys that had, big runs or moments, but this Lomachenko career, if he comes back to the table at 34, 35 and regains all 4 titles, hell yeah.
Or by contrast, let's say this: if you weren't a believer in Kambosos after beating Lopez, he goes in there and he beats Loma. Every hater on earth. I mean, I think he converted a lot of people. To be clear, Kambosos did everything the right way for that. But in the end, if he ends up beating Loma, dude, you have to. I mean, I think he converted a lot of people with the Lopez win. But there are some skeptics still. At that point, you just couldn't deny the guy. You just could not deny him. That's a huge
I don't want
fight.
I don't want to act like Kambosos has no chance with this. No, it's not true. He can win this fight, and whoever wins this fight, seeing them hopefully then get a Ryan Garcia or a Tank or a Teofimo if he wants to, but I think he's moving to 140, or maybe Shakur Stevenson after fighting Oscar Valdez moves up. I mean, there are so many possibilities. I love it. I can't wait. But Luke, the idea down the road, but not too far down the road. Gervonta Tank Davis versus Vasily Lomachenko on pay-per-view for all the damn belts. I mean, come on, bro. Come on. Right?
I mean, I really hope it comes to that, dude. That's all I can say. Let's stay with boxing. And by the way, here he comes, BC. Here comes Jaron Boots Ennis. He has been named in a IBF welterweight title eliminator opposite Custo Clayton. Winner, this is the deal. The winner of that bout is expected to get the winner of Spence versus Ugas. These guys, Jaron Boots Ennis, I am telling you, this is probably the best, prospect is not quite the right word, rising contender, maybe in all of boxing, irrespective of weight class. He is a force to be reckoned with out of Philly. They don't want any parts of this guy. But now, BC, because of the ordering of this fight, he is now in direct line. If he wins this one, which I expect that he will, he's going to get either Spence or Ugas probably later in the year, one hopes. You have to be excited for this for Jaron Boots Ennis, who, guys, you know as well as I do, guys are going to avoid him except for fights like this.
Here's why this is awesome. So Boots Ennis has that kind of AJ McKee feel to a certain degree, right? Of holy shit, he might be next, and he's so dynamic that if he starts showing us he can beat the elites easily, he might be something, next level. None of the guys seemingly want to fight him, though, Luke. And it makes sense on the risk-reward, proposition to a degree. Yet if this was UFC where the matchmaking had the control, he'd get fast-tracked. Forget Chimaev. I mean, he'd get fast-tracked. So here's Boots, who isn't a PBC fighter officially with Al Heyman, yet fights on PBC cards, gets promoted by Cameron Duncan, and some people believe maybe because he's not with the PBC promoters, that's delayed making some of these fights. He's just like, okay, what can I control? Going out there and winning. So why don't I go the traditional, alphabet sanctioning way, climb the rankings, become the number one contender to where they basically have to fight me or lose their belt. That's where we're at, Luke. And that's great that we're this close to seeing this consummation of Boots against one of these elites. Now, Castillo Clayton can fight. Let that be known. He fought Sergey Lipinets to an all-action draw. He's going to try to mix it up, but the fact that you said you believe Ennis could do this and, handle himself maybe even easily is because Ennis looks so great in the destructions of Sergey Lipinets or in his last fight against Thomas Delorme. I mean, he just looks so freaking special. We may see him fight for 3 of the 4 welterweight titles to close out this calendar year against the winner of Spence Ugas. like, I feel like this is boxing Christmas morning today in Quick Hitters, and I'm just opening up, promissory presents, one after another here, Luke.
I do. I'm telling you, for folks who've not seen Jaron Ennis, you're about to find out. This guy, you see people switch stances in boxing a little bit. Like they do. Tyson Fury plays with it a little bit at times, especially when he's closing range with certain ways or backing up to an extent. You'll see them play with it. Jaron Ennis is one of the few guys at high-level boxing will just spend around in southpaw, spend around in orthodox, or switch depending on what attacks work in the middle of a round. He can use it and weaponize it in ways that it's hard to do in professional boxing because you can leave so many openings. This dude is precise, powerful, athletic, and his fight IQ is off the charts. All he needs is an opportunity to face good fighters that can take him to the next one. Now, as you mentioned, Clayton, nobody's pushover. I'm not expecting him to pushover performance. But I do think that once Ennis starts tangling with the Spences, with the Ugases, those guys are in trouble, dude. I think Ennis can beat the very best of this division. Maybe not Bud Crawford. I don't know about that. But I believe, BC, and I don't know this, do I believe he can beat Spence? Yes, I do. I do believe that.
If this was the late 60s and we were at the, the rock clubs in London, Boots Ennis is Jimi Hendrix, and Spence and Crawford and Thurman are like Pete Townsend and Eric Clapton calling each other up and be like, this guy's going to put us out of work. There's a Dated Dad reference. But look, you mentioned the switch hitting. You can't forget Terrence Crawford does that great, but the difference is Crawford will turn to southpaw at a key strategic time and then go the rest of the fight there. Ennis just floats, and he goes back and forth, and it's not that it's never been done before. It's just very hard to do on a super elite level. Marvin Hagler did it very strategically, but it's so rare that we call it out. It's much more common in MMA to just square up or switch stances, but in boxing, obviously, you want to avoid squaring up at all times unless you're some type of Nassim Hamed athletic freak. So, hell yeah, Luke. Okay,
I couldn't disagree with any of that. All correct. All right, a little disappointing if I could be honest, BC. I'm not saying this is a bad fight. That's not what I'm saying. But it just feels like I don't know. Does it wow me? Doesn't wow me. Artur Beterbiev, I was the guy I thought Canelo, that should fight him, but that would have been great if Canelo tried, even though Canelo would be, way undersized. He needs another fight, so it's going to be Joe Smith Jr. Bob Arum says the unification bout, which is what this is, will take place at MSG in June. BC, again, I'm not hating on it. It's a fine fight. Joe Smith earned it. I get it. I don't love it, dude.
Okay, it's not Bivol better Beeve for 3 of the 4 belts, and it's not Canelo versus, Artur, but don't shit on Joe Smith Jr. He may be a, union carpenter or whatever.
It's a fine fight, but it's a fine fight, BC. But you can't call this a grand slam.
Well, look, it's for 3 of the 4 belts, and if we consider, and if we already know that Dimitri Bivol is the leading candidate along with Jermall Charlo to face Canelo in May, then the winner of that against the winner of this, even though that's not guaranteed it's going to happen, but you are talking about a Final Four at 175, and at the very least, Luke, Beterbiev will be the betting favorite, and he should be. But Beterbiev's a 36-year-old, and he showed a little bit of human-like behavior of late. What does Joe Smith Jr. do great? He's athletic, and he can knock you the hell out. And I think he's done well to cover up his limitations and become a legitimate champion. And I'm not saying, there's many ways for him to win this, but this would be a fun fight. And you do it at MSG? Yeah. Hell yeah. Look,
the MSG part is great. Obviously, there's a huge, huge Russian community, obviously, in New York City. I love the proximity for us. I would love to go to it. Dude, there's nothing wrong with this fight. That's not what I mean to say. I guess what I mean to say is, and while I grant that Beterbiev is aging, right? He is not the same guy he was maybe 3-4 years ago, and that's a fair comparison, acknowledgement. At the same time, do I really think that Joe Smith has a real chance to beat him? Maybe I'm wrong. I've been wrong before. I'll be wrong again. I just don't feel that right now. And for that reason, it's a little bit, not underwhelming, but a little bit, okay. That's kind of how I feel about it.
You were very Shark Tank judge, for that reason, I'm out. Okay, it was very,
we stick with the Ukraine, BC, although Beterbiev was Russian, but I mean, we were talking about it earlier. Dude, no one's really talking about this in sports, really even in politics to a degree, but it's a kind of an interesting story. I guess we'll see what happens internationally. Currently, Vitaly Klitschko, the former great champion in boxing, is the mayor of Kiev. I think has been for about 6 or 7 years, maybe longer than that. And his brother, Vladimir Klitschko, which of course many fans know, returned to Ukraine to join what is essentially the equivalent of their army reserves over there in the event that there is a Russian invasion of the Ukraine. Now, I cannot get into all the great details of that, in part because we don't have time and the show's not really about that. There could be, it seems, for a lot of different reasons, there could be a Russian invasion, although the most recent reports we see out this morning indicate that maybe diplomacy will win out. I guess we'll have to see. But, dude, these guys are 10 toes deep in the fuck Vladimir Putin club, and they live and breathe their values, BC. You would agree, seeing people who have all the riches, all the fame, all the acclaim in this world say when it's time to be a patriot for your country, and then they fucking do what is asked of them. I guess we'll see what happens if there's an invasion, but they've always been critics of Vladimir Putin, and they led protests in 2013 and 2014. These guys are about it. It's pretty admirable, I have to say.
Well, a good reference on the about it, because there's two people that are maybe the only two I can compare this type of behavior and spirit to. One is Chewbacca. Two is Pat Tillman. It kind of feels like that type of thing, Luke. And I didn't try to set you up to get you to laugh. And then I mentioned Pat Tillman, like that time we interviewed that guy from that documentary. And then 6 weeks later, Legal's still trying to remove that from our show, and it never aired.
That was a fun thing.
It was a dark moment. Seriously, though, like, look, I've always been of the belief, Luke, that, if you're going to believe something, whether I fully agree with it or not, go all in on believing that and stand up. And, these guys are going all in. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why they shouldn't be grabbing arms and going to the front line, given who they are and all that. And they're just like, no, we are at the end of the day citizens of this country, and we must protect this house. I mean, that you're right. In the sports world, like, nobody's talking about it. This is pretty wild. I mean, this is pretty intense shit, man. This is a real deal.
Google Vitaly Klitschko. He's been in the news a lot. He was complaining because they were asking other countries for weapons in the event that there was a invasion. Germany, it turns out, doesn't really want to get involved, so they kind of, like, just to pacify the Ukrainians, they sent them, and this is not a joke, 5,000 helmets. And Klitschko let him have it, dude. He let him have it in the media. Like, you gotta these guys, man, when it's time to act for their country, they don't hesitate even a little bit, and they've got every reason to want to go fly to the Maldives and never come back. Pretty remarkable. We'll see what happens. Again, I hope that they don't. BC, of course, I hope that it doesn't come to any kind of conflict, whether these guys' lives will be imperiled or not. But that they show this kind of mettle and patriotism. Dude, you just don't see a lot of that anymore. You really don't, and it's admirable. Very admirable.
I'm not doing a bit here, and I know you think I'm doing a bit, and I'm not. But you do, which makes your live chat so unique, Luke. You do have a very good ability at, like, going off of the sports script and talking about politics in life, and you're well informed and all that. You and your dad on the Luke Thomas solo channel debating, the potential Russia-Ukraine, invasion and the U.S.'s potential role. I'd tune into that, Luke.
It wouldn't be much of a debate. It'd be my dad schooling me. But if you're interested in watching a beatdown intellectually, he can.
No, I don't mean. I don't mean.
Out.
I don't want it to be a debate. I just want it to be an intelligent conversation. Joe Rogan.
So it's funny you bring
style.
this up because after we added it, after you guys texted around, we added it to the rundown. I actually told my dad about it. My dad's super well informed on this stuff. But even he didn't know about it. He was blown away learning, like, all of this. He was shocked. So I think a lot of people are just, like, sleeping on the story a little bit, but it's incredibly impressive. All right, BC, we end the quick the quick hitters on one that you've added, or maybe Mikey added it. So Deontay Wilder doesn't know if he wants to keep fighting or not. I think he's half-half, which you can understand. He made a lot of money, had a lot of wins. What's left for him? So rather than sort of seek the counsel of, I'm sure he sought the counsel of a manager and friends, the real counselor he's seeking is in the Andes Mountains somewhere, and he's looking to go take a ayahuasca trip for insight into whether he should continue his career or not. BC, good idea, bad idea?
Wild idea. Now, I believe he was on the Boxing Voice podcast where this came out, and, he has specifics of he doesn't want to do DMT, but he wants to, just ayahuasca, but he's looking at this, he wants to do it with a shaman and obviously do it for the spiritual reasons. But like you said, one of the major parts of this is to figure out what to do moving forward. I will say this, Luke, I don't, bring this on here in a joking fashion, even though we do, hey, let's get Rashad and go lick a toad and go to the Joshua Tree together and bring the MK Doc cameras. What I really mean is you're seeing how much healing is potentially coming from these psychoactive drugs, and they're becoming a thing, not just for, PTSD ex-soldiers, but now for, look at the change. Rashad before and after, the change of, him as a man in person is night and day since then. So I believe in the potential, healing spirit of this. But I don't know. I mean, this could lead to him saying, "Screw boxing. I gotta go save the world." He's gonna find out the true answers deep inside. And Luke, you know what? I embrace therapy and mental health, treatment and all that. I think we all want to really know the truth, Luke. Okay, so maybe.
I support it in that sense. But if you're going to be the person who, and our producer brought this up quite correctly, if you're going to be the person who goes with him on a journey, you should be wearing gear like a hockey goalie, because there's going to be a lot of snot from crying, and there might be some fists being thrown, and God knows what else. I would be prepared, is all I would say. You might also end up holding a very large man and letting him cry in your arms. That could happen too. He could be vulnerable.
And then, you never know. You never know, Luke. It's wild. All right.
That's it for our quick hitters, BC. It's time now for the fan submissions.
Yeah, morningcombat@gmail.com is the email address for you to send in your Wednesday, pictures of your cable cord management. And Friday's Dead Wrong, of course, which is a much maligned segment, Luke. I think Dead Wrong is so maligned right now that people like fan subs again.
What people don't understand is Dead Wrong is necessary. I don't know how entertaining it is, but we have to have it.
It's like taking a shit. Like no one wants to romanticize it, but it's necessary for your body's function, Luke.
That's right. Right. It's the taking a dump of your life's function. That's what it is.
It's Friday. You just let that shit out. All right, here we go. We've got mail. Fan sub time.
Today, we have a special
all right, Russell's here. He says, this big guy and I took a flight to Colorado and had to fly the MK flag. New merch idea.
Wow.
MK dog sweaters. Wow, Luke. So can you bring a pet into the actual, coach area, cockpit? Or does it have to be... Does it have to be if it's for like calming, like a medical?
You've been in as many airports as I have, even more since you have to take connections out of that podunk airport you live near. But
wow, shout out Bradley International. Wow, all right.
Sorry, I'm just being a shithead. But what I mean to say is, you've been in a lot of airports too. See a lot more dogs than I used to, for good or for worse. The dogs I have seen outside of like a carrying case have either been too big for one. So I think if there's a rule, if the dog is small enough, it's got to be in there at least for part of it. Or it's been like a service dog where you can actually just walk the thing down the aisle. But I don't know if a puppy, I don't know what the rules on that are.
Okay. All right. Well,
I will say, BC, he is complying with federal aviation guidelines and mandates, and he's wearing his mask. I'm sure he hates it when he was there on January 6th at the Capitol taking a shit on Pelosi's desk.
Oh,
but,
wow.
But
that was a low blow. But Mikey pointing out emotional support dogs are allowed on actual plane rides. So maybe that guy needed support, and he was getting it from you on his chest, and then you just shat on him. Luke,
I know. Okay? I'm sorry. I was doing a bit. He looks great. The dog looks
all right. Emily's here. She says, MK meets pop vinyl. Need some of these in my living room. Keep up the great work, guys. We appreciate you. Emily from the UK.
I mean, could I look more like Grumpy Cat? I mean, Jesus, fuck me.
I think she nailed it, Luke. Look at
first
me
of all, first of all, the white in my beard looks like the logo of a death metal band, number one. Number two, I look like Grumpy Cat with glasses on, and I've just been given a stage 4 cancer diagnosis. I mean, could this be worse?
Wow, I thought I liked the way I looked in that tie-dye, Luke. All right, I look kind of like I've been in the gym, I guess.
Yeah, look, they gave you blonde hair. You haven't had blonde hair since you were 4 months old, fuckface. This is all a lie.
Well, I have been known to dye it many extreme shades of.
They should have dyed it shoe polish brown and called it a day.
You know, if that hadn't stained the side of my head so abruptly, it would have looked real. I'm telling you. Wow. All right, Luke. And anyone saying, "Wow, they made your head so big on there"? That's actually the size of my body.
Yeah. No, that was the one part they got right.
Yeah, there you go. All right, Aurelius slides in, says, "Hey, what's up, MK? No MK gear for you to self-promote on your show, but I would like to metaphysically give a slap on the wrist to Luke for being years removed from the Marine Corps, yet still wearing his core issue dress shoes."
So yes and no. So yes and no. When we were at normally I haven't worn those in years, but when we went to the award show, I didn't have any tuxedo shoes. I don't know what the fuck tuxedo shoes would even be anymore. And he was like, "What are you looking for?" I was like, "Core frames," which is what they call the shiny shoes that military service members wear. I was like, "I want something like core frames." He's like, "I got you, player," and that's what he gave me.
Was that the same guy who was like, "No cameras inside the
Yeah,
Friar
that was
Tuck
the guy who was
store.
like, get your motherfucking cameras and shove them up your ass like a colonoscopy. I was like, okay, sir, that's a little aggressive, but all right.
Yo, how about that sniper, Jake, the documentarian, coming in there and still pulling it off anyway, okay?
I know. He was like, fuck your rules. We're going into
Yeah.
Friar Tucks. So
All
sorry,
right, what's
Friar
this-
Tucks. I didn't
this-
do that.
Well, he's got 2 memes for us here, Gaff. What do we got? What do we got? Anything good? I can't see it. That's true, Luke. Fans can't decide. They can't decide. Yeah.
That is fucking hilarious. By the way, we never talked about this part either. I don't know if I should, because I think actually I have relatives out here. I'll save it. But I have to tell you what would happen when we were at the beach every night around sunset. The Instagram thoughts come out of nowhere, and that's when the shade. They're like, why are you wearing your shades at sunset? It's like, right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm sure your dad wouldn't be against that conversation, Luke. That dirty old bastard. All right, Brett's here. He says, cheers from Sydney. Well, these down under folks, these blokes, these mates, they love us.
Same one. Jesus, 2 people had the same idea?
No, that can't be. That was Brett. This is Brett. Oh, that was Brett. Sorry. Let's give Brett from Sydney the credit. I thought Aurelius had 2 memes, Gaff, no? Nothing?
Just the one.
My notes are incorrect. All right, well done, Brett. Let's move on to at Charcoal by Dylan. Last episode, BC mentioned Nostradamus, talking about his picks. Sure enough, as I searched one of my leather-bound history books, there was the old pitch in his washed-up glory. Next to the photo, it read, Nostradamus was a prophet so powerful he could predict how many gas station hot dogs he'd be consuming in the near future just by half closing his gammy chewing eye. Love the show. Love the show, guys. Wow. That's
Dude, people, I think it was they left that scene in the part 6 of the documentary where we went to the Mexican food place next to the strip club, which by the way was great, except they served me 75 dead animals. It was overkill to the nth degree. But they caught you doing the one-eyed bit chewing, and then viewers tagged it in the comments, timestamping it.
Jake, that's the thing, when I always say, no, this is the real, this is the raw, and people are like, yeah, right, BC, this is all, scripted bullshit, bad comedy. It's not, first of all, and number 2, Jake's not afraid to catch us at our worst and then really, build the show around that.
Part of the documentary is just what frauds we are. Really is. A big deal.
All right, Michael's got a meme for old BC here. Let's see it.
He tries to fight back.
Let me read it. Boxing is real. Gaethje was 1 kick away from beating Habib. My phone case is gender appropriate. Whitaker beat Adesanya last weekend. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's funny. I mean, I definitely feel like the case is stronger than the meme would indicate, but it's still a funny joke. You can
Thank
agree.
you. Yeah, well done, Michael. Yeah, you got me. All right,
I have to say, the best one of the 3 is my phone case is gender appropriate.
Remember when I even asked Floyd about that right before we fought him, and then he didn't really have a good
Yeah, Floyd
response.
was like, no.
All right. Neil says, hi, Donks. Your old pal Danger Mouse here with some memes and art to hopefully amuse and entertain you.
Jesus.
First up, Luke's important choice at the award ceremony. What does it say?
It says, be polite and professional. Scream, or blow it up because I can't wait. Here we go. Scream, fuck Jay Aaron, and drop the mic. I chose polite and professional, but yes, I definitely had a little voice in my head being like, say fuck Jay now. I was like, yes,
It was George Corpse Grinder, apparently. Let's see the next one. This is BC following his argument that Bisping should not be in the Hall of Fame.
BC, the next time he attends a UFC where Michael Bisping is present. Haha, I'm in danger. No, he's not. Just to make sure everyone was cool before High Court, I messaged Bisping and gave him a heads up, and he was completely
but since
cool
then, I did criticize this commentary, and then he put out a video yesterday coming back at all the haters. Now, I'm not saying that he saw.
What did he say?
Show.
What did he say?
I'm not saying he saw our show or whatever, but like he was just like, you guys don't realize how great Rogan is and is to this industry. I could never replace him, and then into the whole like.
I mean, it is unfair that Bisping got thrown into this, and I was like, well, what about Rogan? It's like, dude, he can't be Rogan. Like, he can only be himself. That's it.
Right.
There's no replacing
Exactly.
Rogan per se.
And just the breakdown of the scoring and all that. But we've been up and down. Luke, he's got another one here. Now it's back to Luke for his controversial opinions on MK fan.
I mean, I don't actually believe that. I just like making jokes about it, but that is a funny meme. That is a funny meme.
And finally, one for all the true Morning Combat fans out there. Great interviews recently, BC.
Filme pe gustul tău, cu Cio Popcorn.
Keep on donking, guys. that's true. That is true.
Oh, that is good. That is really, really, really funny. That's good. Yeah. Dude, they were good this week. Holy shit. The memes were awesome.
We got a couple more. And for all you people listening at home, you should be watching or something. Well, we'll take your listen, your download.
Yeah, it's just hard to get the value of the segment podcast.
Owen says, gentlemen, some time ago I emailed, this is the last one, I emailed in to save Luke from any future misuse of the word brethren, as in Brian Campbell, my CBS Sports brethren, since it's plural and all in BC is just one dude. Anyway, Luke looked me dead in the eye and told me to go eat shit, though he stopped saying it, so I guess that tells its own story. Luke, it's not my fault that your mood is ruled by the slightest pressure on your sphincter. I was just trying to help and you spat in my face. But what am I going to do? Go to the Canadians? They don't touch me like you guys do, Luke. So like in any abusive relationship, no matter how vehemently you shout me down, I'll always come back for more because that sugar is just too sweet. Besides, there's an upside to Luke's visceral anger. The kids in the neighborhood learn a lot of new swear words whenever the audio on his live chat fails again. See the meme attached. Much love, Owen from the Netherlands.
Daddy, why is the big hairy man next door always so angry? Is it because of his music? The music is really angry, Daddy. I get scared sometimes. Daddy, what is a mouth breather? Am I a mouth breather? The hairy man yells that at a lot of Mondays. Just keep mowing that lawn, son. Jesus, it's called a cover, BC. Like a cover band.
Wow. What do you think of what's this guy's name? Owen? What do you think of his long spiel?
It's a little bit all over the place, but he tried. That's what matters, right?
He closed with, P.S. May all your locker room bonuses be declared to the IRS. Luke, that is fan sub.
That's pretty good. I have to say, I'll give this one's an A-. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's not bad. That's not bad. All right, Luke. That's it. That's it. I gotta go.
That's it. So let's remind everyone, you're flying out today because Friday Showbox. What time does Showbox kick off in the East on Friday?
I think it's 9 p.m. Eastern. I should probably look that up and have that accurately, but it's don't miss it on Showtime. BC. Barry Tompkins, Raul Marquez. It's the main event. Lightweight. It's gonna be fun. Jermaine Ortiz against Nahir Albright. And
by the way, folks, I say this. BC is not a wallflower on this broadcast, of course, nor should he be. But what I mean to say is Barry Tompkins probably talks the most by virtue of his job, right? He's the play-by-play guy. BC does some color along with Raul Marquez. And, of course, BC lets Raul Marquez do his thing because he's a smart guy who knows boxing in and out. But I got to say, I watched the first broadcast. They have BC do, like, all the graphics. In and out, it's pretty amazing. So if you don't get enough BC on MK, which you probably do, to be honest with you, but at least DVR it, because when you go back and you see, dude, he has a very, very active role in these broadcasts. And BC, congratulations, dude.
Thank
you.
Luke.
I'm happy for it. It's really good to see. I know you're a talentless faker, but I also know you've been talentlessly faking for like 15 years, so you're due an opportunity. You know what I'm saying?
It's like a common law marriage, right? At the end of the day, it's like, okay, he got there at the end of the day. But
exactly. So, and also after BC on Saturday, we go over to Bellator and Showtime on Saturday. So Showtime.com, 30-day free trial. Now's the time. Pull the trigger. What are you waiting on? Store, you can see what BC's shirt is and everything else. Morningcombat.store is going to be your place to be for all of that. Don't forget the dead wrongs, folks. You got to hold us to account. If we're wrong, we need to know about it. We need to know from you. Morningcombat@gmail.com. And you can kill us on there. It's fine. That's what it's for. So you can hammer us for all our things we get wrong along the way. And, yeah, that's about it, BC. I know you got to get out of here, but we'll be back on Friday for a full-on preview. Then there's Showbox that night. We got a busy, busy weekend. So I wish you good luck on your travel. Any final thoughts?
No, not at all.
All right. So for Malka, for Showtime, for CBS Sports, for the boss of Connecticut, my name is Luke Thomas. This has been Morning.
Ai început să studiezi cu un playlist lo-fi, dar acum chiar trebuie să te concentrezi. Închide ecranul.
Fill her up.
Whatever, and they'll say, "Oh my God, that's amazing." I was like, "No. You fly there, you see the hotel bar maybe, a restaurant, the arena, and then you're back at the airport."
Yeah, you don't get to. I get the same thing a lot of times. You know, you sit around with some neighbors, or someone finds out what we do, and like, oh, you get to see all these places, like a lot of hotels and all these places. That's about it.
A lot of bitchy flight attendants is what I find, and what I have to deal.
Oh my God, I got a funny. I didn't think I had any good stories. So I'm on this flight. Stupid enough, I don't know what happened, but I had a connection from Omaha to Houston, which is stupid.
Oh, the connections.
Yeah. So I'm stuck in Denver, and the plane we're supposed to get on, the PA system went out. So they delayed the flight an hour, which I thought it'd be pretty nice to have a flight without a PA system. It'd be nice and quiet. But like the day before, I realized that I wasn't first class. I get a little bougie sometimes. So I upgraded to first class, and it was those pods, where it lays back. It's
nice.
Big and cushy. So they board us on the plane, and then the PA system's still not working. So once we were boarded, we sat on the runway for 2 hours while they're trying to fix this PA system. Now, had I been back in coach, I'd have been losing my goddamn mind. I'd have been pissed. But
I've got a similar story. I'm not going to interrupt, but I know the feeling, because I was up front like you were, and the people in back in coach were losing their minds. Continue.
And you can hear them back there like, hey, can you just let us off and then we'll get back on? And I was super comfortable, so I just laid my chair all the way back.
Same.
Pretty much.
In my similar story, I might have taken a little something that relaxes you, of pill form. I had a couple of glasses of champagne. I was good. I was watching a fucking movie.
They're
great.
taking our dinner orders and shit. So I lay back and I fall asleep, and so I sleep pretty much the whole time we're there. And all of a sudden, my whole body just starts getting lifted back up. And then I feel a person like reaching across me. This is the biggest goddamn flight attendant dude I've ever seen in my whole life. Like it didn't look like a guy you want to run into in a dark alley. And he's reached all the way across me. He's rolling my seat up like the little electric seat, sitting me up and buckling my seatbelt at the same time as we're getting ready to take off.
Three hands.
I was so scared. Like I didn't know what to do. I just looked up at him like half awake, and he just went, "Oh yeah, I just wanted to make sure you're safe." And then just walks off.
I was, but I'm gonna have fucking nightmares tonight.
Yeah, no, I'm terrified.
Oh dear.
Wild.
You know, on my flight coming home, actually, there was a little snafu as well. Nothing to do with me. Before you all start, because I've told a few stories on here about, things that go wrong on flights. Because it's a highly stressful time sometimes. On this occasion, lovely flight attendant. She couldn't have been any nicer. She was very nice, as I said. But there was a lot of commotion. I was right at the front of the plane, so I could hear everything. She was on the phone a lot, and I could hear certain keywords that were perking up my ears and thinking, hold on, what's happening here? I said, excuse me, what's happening? She goes, well, we thought the plane was going to have to turn around because we thought one of the engines were on fire. And I'm like, oh, fuck, this doesn't sound good. But it turns out some guy was vaping in the bathroom.
Oh,
he was vaping in the bathroom, and the alarm went off. But when the alarm went off, they weren't sure. They couldn't pinpoint what it was for. And anyway, this was at the start of the flight. We'd been in the air for about half an hour. And they were going on. They were making a big deal out of it. And I thought, this poor guy, do you know what I mean? Because what happened, they said, listen, when we land, you're all going to have to stay on the plane. The police are going to come on. They're going to escort him off the plane and all the rest of it. And this poor guy, when they frog marched him off the plane, I mean, talk about embarrassing, right? And he looked like a nice young guy. He was like early 20s. He was dressed like totally, a little bit of a nerdy guy. He had his little backpack on, you know what I mean? And he looked like you can't judge a book by his cover, but he looked like a very nice guy. I said, what, is he being a problem? Is he drunk or anything? And they went, oh, no, he's cooperating. He's being very nice, but he hit his vape pen in the thing. And I thought, just let him off. There's no fucking harm done. It's not like he lit up a cigarette. And then when we walked off, the police were talking to him. I saw them, and they seemed to be being all right. And I said to my wife, in that situation, if he plays ball, if he's very nice, if his attitude is correct, there's a good chance that they might just say, right, don't fucking let it happen again. Or maybe they throw the book at him, issue him a huge fine, and he gets put on the no-fly list, which would be a shame.
That'd be terrible. That'd be terrible.
Terrible.
Over a vape pen. That's...
Is that come on? Anyway, before we move on, we've got lots to talk about. We're going to debate. We've got Jared Cannon here. We've got Darren Till joining us as well. And we got what could turn into a massive argument with Anthony Smith and I, because we got a difference of opinion. And I'm fucking ready to take you on head to head. Oh, by the way, we've also got repercussions of wrong bets. What does that mean from the last show? It means we might be doing a shooting. We're bored. We're ready. We're armed. We're ready to go. But before we get into all that good stuff, and it is going to be good stuff, and thank you all, subscribe and ring the bell if you haven't done that. Valentine's Day, the day of love, Anthony Smith. Is this a special occasion in your house?
No, we avoid it like the plague. Valentine's Day is a new relationship day.
Yes,
that's for the lovebird, for people for couples that still like each other. That's what me and my wife always joke around and say. It's kind of like going out on New Year's Eve to a club. It's like amateur night. I'm not I'm not waiting around for 2 hours for a reservation, and so we always have hung out at home with the kids, and like I'm sure that you probably did it with your kids. You kind of just pull your kids into Valentine's Day too. So I got my kids Valentine's presents. They actually got me dress socks to wear on the desk with all their pictures on.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's kind of a cute little thing, but. No,
well, I've got 3 kids and they're older than yours, and they didn't get me fuck all. Not a little, nothing.
We're sending a tweet out to your kids.
Yeah. Well, Rebecca and I, we don't do anything. We've been together 23 years at this point. You know what I mean? We're not doing Valentine's Day all the time. And to be quite frank, I forgot I was working all weekend in Houston. So fortunately, that's my excuse, but it works. It ties in. So anyway, fuck Valentine's Day. Super Bowl. Any interest in that yesterday?
Yeah, we had a little get together at a friend's house down the street. It was pretty low key. I didn't have like my team wasn't in the game. So
who's your team?
I'm a Chiefs fan, Kansas City Chiefs. So it was a good game though. That's all I really care about. I want it to be competitive. You don't ever want to see a blowout. So it was a competitive game. Came down to the wire.
It was a good game. I enjoyed it. I mean, I don't really watch sports, but it's a cultural phenomenon, the Super Bowl.
Halftime show though.
The halftime show was amazing. Get to that in a second. And I got back from the airport, I flew home and I'm like, the Super Bowl's still on. I'll watch that. And I even caught the halftime show. And it came down to the wire.
I recognized you from afar. I'm so glad to see you, but what brings you to Lake Eternity?
the game, didn't it? And it was kind of, I was captivated. I was like, ooh, are the Bengals going to pull this back? Are they going to do it? Then what happened? They gave up possession. Was it a fumble? Is that what you call it?
Yeah.
Fumble.
They I don't know. They kind of shit the bed. They looked really good the whole beginning of the game.
Yeah.
And I think some of it's just inexperience on Joe Burrow's part for being such a young quarterback.
These names mean nothing to me, but I did
Well,
see the young man in question.
Well, he's the quarterback for the Bengals.
Yeah.
He's just young, and that's a crazy spot to be that early. It'd be like,
They gave up though.
They gave it away. I think they gave it away.
But like there was still, it wasn't long. There was like 40 seconds on the clock. And I get it. The Rams had possession, so there's no way they could have changed it in 40 seconds. But still, 40, you give it a shot. You give it a fucking shot. You don't just concede defeat. If you're playing chess, you don't just... throw the king down and say, fuck it.
Well, if the other team has the ball, they can literally just run the clock down. So instead of just getting online and waiting for the 40 seconds to go down, they just say, it's over.
Do you know who wouldn't have done that, though?
Michael Bisping?
Roxanne Modafferi. She fucking keeps trying. She will keep walking forward. She will keep getting smacked. She will live by the sword, die by the sword, and maybe die by the sword. You know? We're going to get into all that in a little bit. So let's talk about some of this stuff. We got 20 minutes until Jared can in it. Oh, by the way, the halftime show was fantastic.
It was.
Bit of a throwback there, some old school hip hop. Do you like a bit of 90s hip hop, Anthony?
I do. That's
Who are you? The Watchtower is no place for neophyte adventurers like you. Oh, don't say I didn't warn you.